Public swimming pools in Ontario must be inspected by a certified public health inspector at least once a year. Today, we are following an inspector from Toronto Public Health as he inspects a Class A swimming pool. The inspector will provide a commentary as he proceeds with the inspection to explain key criteria and concepts. Pay close attention to the areas he's inspecting, including possible health and safety infractions. We will discuss these at the end of the inspection.
So we'll start our pool inspection by looking at the pool water clarity. And the first thing we want to look for is the black disc on a white background, which should be located at the deepest part of the pool. So here we can see the black disc located in the center of the pool there, and it should be clearly visible from anywhere on the pool deck or up to 9 meters away. So here we can see clearly that the disc is visible, which indicates that there's no issues with the water clarity, which is good. If there was an issue with that, it would be a severe problem we'd have to investigate. So with the clarity good, we'll next move on to testing the water chemistry. So here we're going to use the Exact Easy Test Kit, which you can see here. And we're going to first test for the free available chlorine residual, which will tell us, do we have enough disinfectant in the pool to disinfect any bacteria that might be introduced into the water that could potentially cause illness in bathers. So we'll start with the free available chlorine test. First, we need to dip the instrument into the water and fill up the cell with water. So we'll dip it in a few different times and then collect our sample in the cell. We will cap the cell and we'll press 0. So we want to zero in on the bottom to make sure tell the unit we're starting a new test. Okay, so now we're ready to do the test. We need to get a test strip from our kit. So we'll go ahead and grab the free available chlorine test strip. And then we will open the cap and press read on the kit and dip in the strip. And it will start a 20-second countdown timer. We want to go back and forth motion with the strip for that 20 seconds to make sure we get enough of the chemical in there to do the test. And once we're down to 1 second, we will pull this out. There we go. Then I will cap the cell again and press read. And we've got a result of 4.27 parts per million, which is above the minimum requirement for chlorine, and it is a good level for this pool to be at. So that indicates there's no issues with the free available chlorine level. So now we will do some additional tests. We'll want to test for the total chlorine, which will allow us to check for the combined chlorine level to see if there's any chloramine issue with the pool. Then we'll also test for pH and total alkalinity. We will do that off camera in this video just to save time and move on to the next part of our inspection. So for the next part of our inspection, we're going to look at a few safety items and signage. So firstly, we'll look for the emergency telephone, which is required at every pool. Here you can see the phone in the yellow case here, and it should be clearly identifiable by a sign on the wall, which we can see up here. And it should also be accompanied by some instructions on numbers to call in case of an emergency. So you can see here, call 911 if there's an emergency, and some instructions here on this sign on how to call 911. If we open the phone up, we want to make sure that there is a dial tone when we pick up the phone so that it is functional. So I'll pick up the phone and I can hear dial tone, which is good. And inside the phone, we've got some emergency numbers to call in addition to 911 for other issues such as poison control if someone accidentally was exposed to a chemical, Ryerson security, and a few other things as well. So that's good. Moving on, we can see we've got a defibrillator here, which is good, not required by the regulation, but an additional thing which is good to have. Here we can see the inspection certificate or sign for this pool, which has passed its last inspection, which is good. Moving here, we can see the record-keeping book for the pool where they're recording their manual water chemistry tests as well as other information about number of bathers each day and so on, which is required in the regulation. You can see they have their water test kit here, which they're using to do their manual testing of the water chemistry. So we will want to look through the logbook history to make sure that the operator is actually recording the water tests that they're doing each day. Here it looks like they actually they've missed some recordings, so they haven't been taking the proper amount of records that they should be. Even if they are doing the tests, they need to make sure that they're recording it daily in the logbook. So that's something that I'll have to talk to the operator or the lifeguard about at the end of the inspection. Here we can see the safety and emergency procedures in this binder, which in this case they're using the YMCA guidelines, which is fine. So every pool just needs to have some written emergency response procedures, how to respond in case there's an issue at the pool. So that's good. Above me here we can see this very large sign, which is the health warning sign that is required to be posted at 2 locations in the pool. So we have this one here. There's another version of the sign at the other end of the pool as well. So the statements that need to be on that sign are outlined in the regulation. So it's listing them all here, which is good, and very big size to make sure that it's visible to everyone. Moving on now, we're going to look at the first aid kit for the pool, which we can see down here. So I'll have a look. I can see immediately some different items that are required, some sterile alcohol pads, for example. We got some Band-Aids here. I open it up. There's some ice packs, which is good. Gloves. They've got the first aid manual there. Looks like we're missing there should be a pair of scissors and also some gauze pads in there, which I don't see. So those items maybe were used, forgot to be put back in the kit. So we're going to have to talk to the lifeguard at the end of the inspection about that as well. They need to make sure that this kit is properly stacked with the materials in case of an emergency. Okay, so moving on now, there's another sign I want to show here, the pool admission guidelines. So in the regulation, all pools must have pool admission guidelines for swimmers that are younger than 10 years of age, so for children basically. And here the pool has listed their pool admission guidelines on this sign. So basically children younger than 10 years of age who are not non-swimmers basically have to be accompanied by a parent or guardian in the pool, and if they are capable of swimming, if they pass the swim test, they can swim in the pool if their parent or guardian is present on the pool deck. So that's basically what I want to show from this end. Now we'll move on to some other safety issues at the pool. So now we're going to just quickly check with the lifeguard to see your lifeguard certificate, which has to be on file. So do you mind just quickly showing me? Thank you very much. So we want to just make sure that the certificate is valid according to the regulation. And here we've got also an image of the certificate and the relevant details of where it was awarded and when it's valid until on this piece of paper here, which is great. Okay, so we'll now move on to the next part of the inspection. So now we're going to review some safety equipment that's required at the pool. First, we have the spine board, which is required in case of an emergency. Then we need to have a electrically insulated non-conducting reaching pole, which we can see here, of at least 3.65 meters in length, which the pool has one here. They also have another one on the other side of the pool. They also have to have 2 buoyant throwing aids, like we can see here, with a rope attached that's at least 6 millimeters in diameter, which this one is. And it has to be long enough to be thrown at least half the width of the pool plus an additional 3 meters. So basically the entire width of this pool. In this case, without taking it and measuring it, I can pretty clearly see that the rope is quite long enough to be able to go across. And also we have another buoyant throwing aid on the other side as well. So those are all good. Here we can see some aquatic equipment that's been used from a previous pool activity, left out on the pool deck here, which is not a good practice. It could be a tripping hazard. So this is a problem in terms of pool maybe got distracted, didn't put these items away after. So we need to make sure that after the pool is using, any of these items are used by bathers, that they're put away after use and not left out on the deck here. That could be a hazard. We also want to look at the depth markings at the pool. You can see down there, there's a marking over here as well around the pool. In accordance with the regulation, they should be specified and also in dark ink that's not faded. So here it's fairly clear to see, so that's good. Over time it might get faded, it might have to be repainted, but for now this looks okay. And that is all the safety equipment on this side. We'll next move on to the next part of our inspection. We're now going to do an inspection of the change rooms and the shower area. So we want to make sure that the shower area is clean, no scum or visible dirt or mildew on the shower area as well as on the pool deck. Here we can see there's a bit of soap scum, so maybe this shower area could use a bit more of a deep clean at some point. The pool operator should provide soap to encourage people to use that when they shower, so I'll just make sure that there is some soap and it is stocked, which is good. And there needs to be a shower reminder sign for bathers before they enter the pool. We can see that sign over here, right in the entrance to the pool area. And also they have a pool rules sign behind me here, which replicates some of the information on the health warning sign. So now we're going to go do the inspection of the pump room to see the filtration system of this pool. Now we're looking at the chemical storage area of the pool, and here we can see some issues. We've got muriatic acid containers on the ground, which is a very corrosive chemical that could cause reactions if the floor were to become wet or react with other chemicals. And in the corner we can see some dry chemicals spilled onto the ground, which is also very concerning. That could be corrosive by touch, as well as if it became wet with water, could cause a negative reaction. So we want to see a better chemical storage system in this pool. Ideally everything should be on shelves off the ground in a separate area. The other concern is just the amount of clutter in this area. Very difficult to access the chemicals. We need a better storage system that's easier and separate for all the chemicals versus other maintenance equipment.
The inspector begins his walkthrough of the pool recirculation system. He observes the water return line from the pool to the hair and lint strainer. It should be visibly clean and periodically cleaned by the operator. The inspector then examines the pool pump, noting some visible corrosion of its components. He then follows the water return line to the pool filters. The inspector views one of the two sand filters. He inspects the filter sight glass to observe the condition of the sand media in the filter. The inspector now observes the filter pressure gauges. The operator should backwash the filters if the pressure differential between the influent and effluent gauges exceeds manufacturer recommendations. In this case, there is little differential between the gauge readings, indicating good filter performance. The inspector now observes the pool chlorination system. The pool has an automatic chemical dosing device to provide a continuous supply of chlorine to the pool water. The pool has 2 large tanks of sodium hydrochlorate chlorine product. Note that the piping containing chlorine is color-coded yellow, as required by Ontario regulations. The pool uses an automatic sensing device. The inspector examines the reading to ensure the oxidation reduction potential valve is within the required range of 600 to 900 millivolts. The ORP meter also displays a reading for the pool water pH. The inspector then examines the water flow rate meter. Now the inspector is speaking with the head lifeguard, explaining the results of the inspection. He indicates that the combined chlorine reading in the pool was too high and recommends a shock chlorination treatment to destroy the chloramines. He also notes that the first aid kit was missing gauze, bandages, and scissors, which should be immediately restocked. The inspector reminds the lifeguard to record all manual water chemistry results in the logbook, which was not properly filled out on certain days. He indicates that some movable equipment was lying on the pool deck, which could present a tripping hazard. The inspector explains that pool chemicals were not properly stored and recommends a safer storage system. Due to these deficiencies, the inspector has issued a conditional pass and will return for re-inspection after 24 hours to ensure these issues have been addressed.